Oh,
This is a drainage. We don't control the drainage. This is.
apparently. I was gonna say, are you taking notes tonight? 'Cause-
No, I'm just have this from his backyard down in Houston.
Hey, Greg, that's one of the best things that
What's that?
I'll add.
Is that flying carpet? That
The whole
was,
thing, the whole show.
I'm really impressed now. I wish I'd known exactly what it was, but.
Going, just going and ask them what we've done. It's one thing.
I assumed it was wires.
Well, I couldn't see the wires in it. They were turning completely around.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah, I assumed it was on something that.
Yeah.
That's on it, we just got that today.
Okay, I mean, his dad,
Yeah, it's just for you.
Eugene's dad was the gold and the green, that was one of the most fantastic sets of amazing.
That is actually, it's not really a hole. It's coming from the pipe system. I think she thinks that she writes in there that it's draining from. No, it's not.
It's been a very wet week.
Drops even on.
The ground that used to be solid is now spongy. It's like the
So
sponge.
he's gonna try to let her, try and talk to her again.
Okay, I'm showing 6 o'clock, so we'll, as soon as Lynn is ready. Here we go, Lynn. All right, it is now after 6 o'clock, so we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Could you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody tonight. Nice to see you. We're getting popular. That's what Rocky's telling us something. Okay, roll has been called.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll entertain a motion for the approval of the November 26, 2019 regular meeting.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Are there any comments or questions for those minutes? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. We'll skip down to resolutions. We have a consideration of a resolution to approve the budget amendment request to increase the assessing education expense line item and the assessing fiscal year 2020 budget by $1,500. And the note here says the finance department is requesting the additional amount because of I guess it's a payment from Emerson Township. Is this a grant or is this something we requested or the backstory here?
Yeah, it's an additional contribution to the city for education.
Beyond our initial agreement then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, very good.
Move approval.
Support.
We have a motion support. Any additional comments or questions?
Are we assessing out there? Is that what it's for?
I mean, this is an educational portion. We have an agreement that was signed last year with them, 2 years ago.
We have an agreement where the Emerson Township taxpayers can contact the assessor during normal business hours here at the city.
But you are their assessor, but you
Yes.
don't do their assessing during our 40 hours or whatever. Is that true?
According to the contract, we could. They have 800 parcels, so most of it's done on weekends, and there's not much going on in Emerson Township. So that's just the agreement that we have. If the taxpayer needs to contact normal business hours, they can do that. So they pay the city for that.
So this covers our expenses.
Oh, yes. This is an additional, this is basically a thank you. We really appreciate this.
They pay us beyond this $1,500. Is that, I forget the amounts, but.
Yeah, this is in addition to their normal pay.
And how long is that contract, Kathy?
1 year.
1 year, so we'll be reviewing it again.
Yep.
So-
We're going into 2 years with that contract.
Okay.
So,
Any questions, though?
yep.
Anybody else? I believe we did have the motion and support. All those in favor? Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Number 2, consider a resolution awarding conditional authorization for medical marijuana facility license with the final authorization contingent upon completion of all the next steps as outlined in the ordinance and policy for a medical marijuana grow facility to Woody's Nursery of Middleville, Michigan. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Okay, questions or comments?
Where is this going to be?
The North Industrial Park is where they're planning on.
Okay.
Yep.
The one that we talked about before in the
Yes.
big building out there?
Yes, the big building. Yep, on Redmond Drive.
Yeah, red.
Building's been vacant for a while. right?
It's been vacant at least 8 years, probably, give or take.
Okay, and that's to see it put to use at least. Any other comments or questions?
I do. Eric, so can you just explain to me, so they haven't filled out an application yet, or they have, or?
They have. This is, they've passed both the pre-zoning and the in itself. What we're approving tonight is that we have 2 for grow and 2 licenses available for processing. They're asking for one of the grows and one of the process. If they're approved, then we get the original approval. And basically that says, hey, get your next steps going with site plan review, building, mechanical, electric, all those things. In 1 year, like we did with the last ones, we have 1 year to complete all those items and get their state licensing. So that's what we're doing tonight. They have a lot of steps yet to get through. So just giving them to go ahead to get those things done. The land.
Aye.
Okay, motion. Consideration of a resolution awarding condition for the medical marijuana facility license with the final authorization contingent upon all next steps.
Location?
So he won 2 licenses in the
They're-
draw?
They're separate licenses.
No. What we're at now, we had a initial application period, which was March 29th. We received no applications on any facilities except for the provisioning centers, dispensaries. So we held a lottery in May to determine of those 19 provisioning centers who would get those 3 licenses we had available for provisioning. Those have been awarded by this commission. There's 3 of them that are out there waiting the 1 year. You know, they got to be open. These, since we've been there, now it's a first come first, person that's at, that has all their authorizations that are qualified to apply. So we have never received anything with grow processing or the handling facility. So these guys are the first ones in that meet our qualifications. So there's no reason to hold a lottery or anything like that. It's just kind of like any other business owner that comes in now. So if there's a license available, they can apply for it. And then if they meet the criteria, then when we provisionally award it, and then they start the next steps of getting the business open.
So even with this, according to our policies and procedures, there's still room for another
Yes.
grow and another process.
Another process, yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Can I answer your question, Matt?
Yes.
Is that
Anybody else have questions? Comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Opposed, same sign? Oops, sorry. Next up, consideration of a resolution approving the Riverside Cemetery rules and regulations.
Move approval. Support.
A motion support, is there a presentation, or?
This is the cleanup, really, of this large document, trying to get things much more user-friendly. All the material is mostly the same. Sarah's been working on it for a long time to get this just cleaned up, so it's much better for me.
Yes.
Yes, surprisingly, look at the sun. And it is much, much better than the previous edition, I will tell you that. Better to look at. And all the forms are now in one place and everything.
The dying is still hard.
Yes.
Complicated.
Well, getting buried.
Getting married is complicated. Okay. Point taken. Okay, I think we had a motion support. All those in favor? Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Next will be consideration of a resolution to approve the budget amendment request to increase the police tools and equipment line item expense in the police fiscal year 2020 budget by $953.32.
So moved. Second.
Anyway, motion support. And this is because we sold ammunition back to, is what the note says?
Yep, it was sold back, so taking all proceeds and putting them in the budget.
Okay. Basically just trade one asset for another? All right. Anybody have questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Moving down to reports. We have reports from the Transit Center, the building permits, the Planning Commission from December, City Manager report from, with no date, but the first two were from November. We have them on the next page. So those are the reports. Any interest in receiving them?
Support.
And motion support. Are there any comments or questions on the reports?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
This is for Brett. Is there a reason that the writers' names or addresses have to be on these reports that go out to the community? Why is that?
That is just public information. It's a public entity, so.
Yeah, so if I used your service, my name and address was out to the
Well,
public?
it's not necessarily their address.
Okay.
It's where we pick them up.
Mostly for babysitting, isn't it?
be
Stuff like that.
incognito.
Well, I just
For
feel like that's
a lot of different.
Yeah, somebody that.
Yeah, I mean, if I have an elderly parent that has to use it every day and gets picked up at dialysis, I don't know why that has to be out on the website for the city.
All of our stuff's foilable. though.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just seems, I just want, it just seems unnecessary. I don't know.
That is intrusive. Yeah, I mean, that's a question that, for FOIA, the question is, if it was FOIA, would that fall under the privacy exemption? That's a pretty good question.
Especially the medical stuff, I feel like is protected by HIPAA at all, or, I mean, I don't know, I just.
I didn't realize you were saying that because of where they're going or where, that's more personal is what you're saying.
Well, I think it's important for the dial-a-ride to understand how they're doing. I mean, obviously performance evaluations and things like that. But I think that's a good point as far as public dissemination. Some of that stuff, I mean.
I guess here.
Could something be used like is used on the police reports that go out on Richmond Street or on Vassar Street or something rather than addresses?
Well, it says like the 1,000 block of.
Yeah.
But the police reports, there are redactions that are done because of FOIA.
Like it says here.
And that's something that I think is a good thing to look into.
Yeah, I think so too.
33. Well, can you explain what FOIA is? That the redactions are done because of FOIA, because they are not FOIA-able information, or because, I don't
FOIA has a privacy exemption that recognizes that in certain situations, the public can still get the information they need. They want to find out about a certain, incident or whatever. They can get all that information, but they don't get private information because it's the right to privacy trumps the right to that information in that instance.
We have addresses, but
And
not
so you
names.
might, that might be an issue.
Can I take a break for 1 second?
I don't see any names.
You've got a young group here that might be interested in knowing what FOIA stands for.
Sure.
As our attorney, would you give them a brief description of the freedom of
I'm sure you guys are
information?
really interested in it.
Well, they made the mistake of showing up today, so we're going to educate us.
FOIA is the Freedom of Information
Now
Act.
you did it.
And it means that the public, everybody in the public, all of us, have the right to know what's going on in city government and state government, things like that. So if you want to get information, it's public information, you submit a request, you say, I need to know about, like this police report from such and such a date, or it could be just about anything that we do here. You put in a request, and most of that information, the vast majority of it, you got to give it up. And you get to read about it, and you get to know then what's happening in your government. But there are certain things that Congress, the state legislature said, wait a minute, you might want to know, like if a store got robbed or something like that, you might want to know that happened. You might want to know how they investigated it. But when you start talking about witnesses' names and addresses, you don't want somebody to that to happen. Just like if you, what was just brought up here, if you want to find out, like dial ride, who's getting a ride where, and you find out that somebody is going to a doctor for some condition that they may not want people to know about. Maybe that right to privacy, maybe you don't want somebody to know that you went to the doctor for something. And, it's enough that they know that you went, but they don't have to know why. And that's the privacy exemption. And so I think that's a legitimate question. I think it's something probably to be followed up on. If you guys want to know, you file one of these requests, and then we got to answer it within a certain period of time. It's real exciting stuff.
Yes. And there actually is very little that we're allowed to do.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
They understand a bit of kids, right? These guys
No.
To be honest, I've been searching for a FOIA
know
request.
exactly what I said.
Tony just gave you one.
It's not.
Well, actually, the question, I guess the question would be, we need to let people know that private citizens are using it, right? Do you need their name? Can you just simply say citizen? I get if somebody's going to Schneps, you want to put Schneps in, it's a business and there's more than one, but you might just have citizen 8 trips, and then citizen, if somebody needs to know who that is, they can FOIA that. You would have that data. But anytime a person's name comes up, simply writing citizen might be all you need. You don't need an address or anything like that, because you want to know what private citizens may be picking it up. That's a frequency count that the rest of the data is.
I could exclude that report entirely and just give you the hard numbers.
Yeah, that's
Just, you
these are
could,
basically
you could just say, private citizens, this many trips, and that would be all we would need to know,
Sure.
right? So that would protect folks if someone wants to FOIA that.
If they want to FOIA it, then they can.
Yeah,
go through the
that'd be
process.
fine. And we're all not exposing someone to a predator or something.
I don't think anybody ever explained these things what FOIA stands for. It's freedom of information.
Yeah, Tony said that.
Did he? Okay, I didn't.
And they were completely attentive.
Tony, they were even more attentive than we are when you talk.
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
Because they're deadliers here.
Let's try and get back to one at a time. Lynn's having trouble hearing, which means the tape isn't turning out very well for us, so. If you could. Are there additional comments on the FOIA or dial-a-ride or whatever the topic was that we were talking about? Did we answer, did you get satisfactory?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the staff, it sounds like, is going to review the information they provide to us. I don't think we really use that specific of information most of the time anyway, so. Okay, any other comments or questions on the reports? All right, hearing none. Did we receive those?
No.
There's a motion to receive.
We had the motion. Did we take the vote?
No, we
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have received the reports. Very good. Oh, and last on our list here is appropriations. Anybody care to pay the bills?
So moved.
Support.
And motion support. Are there any comments or questions on the list of bills to be paid? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion is passed. So we'll have commissioner comments, and since we do have these young folks here, they want a little description of what we do. So in our comments tonight, if you have anything to, maybe wisdom to impart about how you view your role.
Roxy, yeah.
Until you go first.
Yeah, so, and just, I think they'd just like to know, maybe your philosophy, how did you wind up here,
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Little things,
I can-
whatever
I can
tidbits you
answer
want to
that.
share for the group, that'd be great. So Roxanne, you claim you've got it.
Okay, I understand the question,
Lead
yes.
us off.
I've been on city commission about 10 years, and I feel like my duty as a citizen in the community, United States, world, is to be part of the process. In order to respect the rules and abide by the rules and the reasonings behind them, I feel like I need to know the information behind it, that you're not just blindly participating or not participating. I feel like we have an obligation. It's not just one person that's running the city. It requires a lot of very hardworking people to do all of the things. And honestly, I have to tell you that prior to that, I probably had no idea the things that the city government took care of. I mean, I always chuckle when we proclaim Halloween on October 31st or whatever day we change it when it falls on a Sunday. It's interesting. I find it fascinating, interesting, and I enjoy being a part of it. So, but it takes everyone. It takes citizens and government to make the city run effectively. So you have an obligation as citizens of the world in your community to participate. So, thank you for being here.
Good. Well done, you did everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
What'd you make it tough for everybody?
Without preparation, I thank you.
Hey, Larry.
Well, I'm the same as she. But I was elected to represent people, and I feel I do a good job. When people come and talk to me, it's brought before the commission, and we discuss it and decide yes, no, all this. But probably the most important thing is I've heard that Santa is getting ready and that he was going to be in town this Friday night.
He's listening.
Forget freedom of information, Santa.
They know about the Santa guy.
And he always asks, is your room clean? And if your guys' room is not clean, you got about 2 weeks to do it. So, Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
How about if you're not good, you get a chunk of coal?
Right.
There's several people in here that knows.
Not naming names.
Wow.
I can't name names, or I'll be.
Yeah, we just talked about that for you.
Is Santa playable? Let's bring this full circle.
My name is Roger Allman. I have been in the city commission for, I think, about 6 years. I have lived in Alma for 47 or 48, I think, and I consider Alma my home, even though I was born and raised in Chicago. I've lived here longer than any place else, and I consider it my home, and I am always and always have been very proud of it. I like the way things happen in this city, and I wanted to become a part of it. We are the city commission is the managing organization for what goes on in the city. We are a city manager, city commission type government. There are many different governments for cities. There's a plain mayor and I don't know what the other kinds are, but anyhow, the fancy mayor. Our mayor is the head of the city commission. We elect the mayor. You guys elect us. We elect the mayor as the head of and he's the person who runs the city commission and runs the meetings. But the rules are made by this body here. Matt, who is our city manager, does all of the little stuff that we don't want any part of, and is not what we should be doing. We don't hire and we don't make the rules for what time people have to come in and what time their lunch hours are, and that's not what we do. But I wanted to be part of what goes on. Like Larry, I like listening to people, and people talk to me and say, hey, why don't we do this, and why doesn't, and I feel really good when I can bring something like that to the city commission and have it taken care of, acted on. Even if the answer is no, I can go back to somebody and say, hey, well, we talked about this, and here's why we can't do it. But let's see if we can figure out some other way that we could work on this. So,
Well, Roger touched on, it's a semantic, but the difference between a city commission, which we are, and a city council, is whether the mayor is elected by the constituents or elected by the commission. In our case, that's one, I mean, there are many other reasons, but one of the reasons why we are a commission and not a council is that we nominate and vote on the mayor.
Thank you.
So, yes.
Are you ready, Audra, or should we go to Nick first?
I'm still not wise, but I'm Audra Stahl, and I am a brand-new city commissioner. I ran for election last year, and so this is my first year that I'm just now wrapping up. So I'm learning a lot, and I like what these guys said a lot, because I also believe that as good citizens, we have to volunteer, we have to give our time. And I was born and raised here in Alma, and I've lived here my whole life, raised my kids here, and I really love this city. So I wanted to join the city commission and try to help it, make it a healthy and safe place for people like you to grow up and go to school. And like the Boy Scouts, you guys give a lot of service hours, don't you? Yeah. And Mr. Sandro sells me his popcorn. It's delicious. But that's pretty much why I joined and ran for city commission, just to help make a difference. So appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate all that you guys do for the city and for our community too.
My name is Michelle Pitts, and I ran for city commission, and I'm also with Audra. What we had to do is you have to go out and vote. You have to have the citizens of your town. There's several of us that ran. And the people that know you, you have to do a campaign and tell people why you want to be on the city commission. When we're up here, what we have to do is, you all know what budgets are? Mm-hmm. Where we have to keep track of our math, so we're still using our math in our adult life. And we look at numbers all day, and we help them make decisions in the city and make sure that people are following the laws of the city. So if we have to call in the police department to help, we can do that. And you are involved, you have to love your town and be involved in it. And we are very thankful that you come in. You have met all of us tonight, so if you have any questions, you can call City Hall. And you can come visit us at any time. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, or second and fourth Tuesday of every second, fourth Tuesday. And on each if you look at the agenda that you have in front of you, did you hear us all? We had to approve, we have to vote. And if some of us don't like what we see on the agenda, then we can object to it. We can say no, that we don't like what's going to be, so we get a voice. And what our job is to do is to listen to all the other people out in the city of Alma and what they feel is appropriate, correct, right to do. And then we come here and listen to them, and we voice our concerns to everybody up here if we hear from citizens in Alma. So it's not just one person sitting up here voicing their opinion. We're listening to everybody out in the community. So a lot of people come up to us and talk to us about their opinions, and our job is to listen to them and voice their opinions, because there's only 7 of us. So that's what we do.
Oh, yeah, I've got a lot to add to all this. The risk of keeping you here another half hour. No, what people have said about wanting to be part of how this operates, I can tell you a lot of the times the commission meetings aren't real exciting, but that doesn't make them less important. It's the day-to-day stuff to keep things going. When things fall apart, people notice. When you keep it going, sometimes they don't. The other important thing you're hearing from everybody here is there's a difference between being elected and being on the commission. People vote for you, but you serve everybody in the city. It's not just the people that voted for you. And you have an obligation to listen to them. And like Roger pointed out, Roger and other folks, you use your best judgment. Doesn't mean you always agree or do, but you have an obligation to hear from as many as you can and use your best judgment, because you do 2 things. One is make sure it's running, and the other is position it for the future, because we're not going to be here and you are, and you'll be the folks that are running it. So I think that's it. Yeah.
Very good. Sheila. You're always
What does Sheila do?
have you seen?
All right, well, yes.
Can you give a short synopsis of some of the things? Because you handle a lot of stuff for the city, so.
The city clerk is actually the keeper of the records of the city, is their main definition of their thing, but it goes very far from that. I am the operational assistant, I guess, for the city commission. I prepare all those agendas that you see there. All ordinances are, put together by the city clerk's office, and those are the laws of the city. And so they are presented to the commission. Once they are approved, then they have to be, signed and sealed and kept in the records. We do, the other major thing I do is the elections. And so we run the elections here in Alma, because we're a larger town than like Ithaca or St. Louis. We have 3 precincts, so that means that then you have to have 5 workers for each precinct. So we have at least 15 people who are what we call election inspectors. They have to go through training, and so there's a lot to be with the city clerk. She's busy all the time.
It's a short synopsis of the agency. Thank you. Tony, the city attorney.
My job is to bore the Cub Scouts when they come.
Well done. I think these guys are, you're ridiculous.
I don't think I've ever told you, but your tie's on fire. Okay, here's real quick. I'm an attorney when legal things come up. If we have ordinances here that you gotta obey. If you violate one of those ordinances, they may contact me. We go to court and prove that they were violated or whatever, trying to keep order, I guess, And I'm here at these meetings in case something comes up where there's a legal question that needs to be asked. If I have the answer, sometimes I don't. But then at least I can look it up and let these folks know so they can do their job the way they're supposed to.
City manager.
I am the city manager, and the word says it all. I manage all the things we're talking about. It's my job to make sure that we're managing and doing it. But I have these people, a lot of folks over here, that actually do all the work and are fantastic to work with. But a lot of things that you see that come here has come through my office that we've talked about, and my job's to make sure that we're going in the right direction and to continue to make this a really good place to live. That's about the simplest thing I can say when it comes to, because that's really what's important. And you can't talk about everybody sitting up here without all the other folks that work here, and a lot of them aren't here tonight, but I think we do a really good job together and working together all the time to make this a really good place to live in.
Very good.
And if I could, along those lines, before you do that, I want to make sure then to point out, because a couple of those things in that, that our public services director, that's in my report, but Dave Ringel and then city engineer Christine Say have just completed some certification programs in pipeline assessment and manhole assessment and lateral assessments. And that's something we're happy to see them get done, because we know we're going to be talking more and more about that. And I do have there was a meeting set with legislators to discuss the lead and copper rules and some other things on the 16th of December to see. Although we have not had a really large response from the legislators yet, but we'll keep working on it.
Okay.
So, thank you.
And I guess before we move on, while that's fresh in mind, I saw an email come through today. Eagle, I think is their new name. You guys probably got that too. They're having a webinar next Tuesday. On some of those issues.
Yep. You're in.
So you're in. Okay. Just want to make sure you guys saw it and are aware. So. Okay. I'm Greg Mapes. As many of the city of Alma, like many of you, I've been born and raised here, so I've lived here my whole life. I joined the commission because I wanted to be involved. I think I just said, as citizens, we all have an obligation to try and do what we can to make this a better place. So, quite simply, I think that's why most of us are up here. Our city government operates, we're a chain of people. From the city commission, we're kind of the head, we make the rules, and we operate through Matt and his team. He hires a bunch of people to do all the different jobs that need to be done. And none of us can operate alone. We all perform different links in that chain. And we can't be any better than the weakest link of that chain. So I think, well, I know we've got a great team. I think we've got a great commission up here. Everybody, well, we don't always agree, so that's nice. Yeah, we don't have to agree, but everybody comes and they express their opinion, we talk about things, and we all vote according to what we think is best for the city today and what's going to be best for the city tomorrow. Trying to make it a better place. And then Matt and his team take those rules and regulations that we come up with and they go out and find a way to enforce it or to fix things or to do whatever needs to be done. So to hopefully make life for all of you better. So I want to remind you, as you grow up, there's no reason that you can't all be sitting up here someday too. It's nothing special. You do some reading, you learn some things, and you bring your opinions and you bring your knowledge here and you share it. It's, and not just on this commission. The same thing goes, you want to go to Lansing, you want to go to Washington, D.C., at larger offices. They're just people too. There's no reason you guys can't grow up to do the same thing we're all doing and moving beyond what we're accomplishing here. So I very much appreciate your interest and wish you best of luck with your badges. And if we could take a minute, do you guys have any questions for us?
We can do that.
You sure?
We open it up.
Yeah, we'll open up to the public. So what our process is, you go to the podium, you tell us your name and address, and share your thoughts with us. So if you want to go ahead and go to the podium.
I was just going to ask what that was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just your first name.
Yeah.
Your first name. Go on out to the podium, say your first name, and then ask your question.
It doesn't work anyway.
Just stand there, like with your name.
So my name is Caleb, and my question is, what is this podium for?
And that's exactly what it's for, just so people have a place to set their notes or whatever when they want to address the commission. For the purpose of our meeting, it may be used for other things at different times.
Anybody else have any questions?
Who would like to be next?
Any kind of question. You don't have to be shy.
Anything at all?
Anything about our community you want to know about? It's okay. You can ask.
You're all coming to come home to Elmo?
Of
Pray
course.
Friday night, right?
Actually, they'll be down there helping me decorate their tree.
Oh, great. Do you know where your tree will be?
In front of the Opera House.
Front of the house. Great.
I got the message.
Great.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we'll get the popular vote again this year.
Yeah, we got it last year.
Assuming we all remember to vote.
Would anybody else like to? What's that?
Make sure that we're giving the public.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Do you want to announce it? Or
Yeah, I just want to make sure before we go on any further, Mr. Dinwiddie is here tonight, but I got that face. Make sure that everyone knows, I mean, we are 43 years, it was a long time that Brian's been with us here at the City of Elma, and on December 12th,
Excuse me. The Cub Scouts, do you all know who Mr.
Yes.
Dinwiddie is? He's the librarian. He's worked there for 43 years.
43 years, which is coming to an end.
So he's going to be retired.
So, on December 12th, there's going to be an open house at the library, and we'd really like to see as many folks come out to say some kind words to Brian from 3:30 to 5:30 at the library this week, Thursday. So we'll have you back again for some more festivities here.
Will there be cookies?
Oh, yeah, so it's at the library, yes.
Friends of the library.
Friends of the library. Thanks. I just want to make sure.
No, that's fine. Good idea. Hey, would anybody else care to address the commission? Tim, looks like you want to.
Hi, everybody.
Please come forward.
We actually had our meeting tonight. I'm Tim Lambrecht, one of the county commissioners for Elma, and there's scouts here. I didn't know that there were going to be scouts here. I would have been on time. I would have just left my meeting. So you guys are Weeblos? Weeblos? Now, are you trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent? Now, who says that rote memorization doesn't work as education, right? I only made it to second class, but my son's an Eagle Scout. So there you go. Good to see everybody. We actually had our meeting tonight, and so that's why I came in a little bit late. Just a couple updates. And so what I do as a county commissioner, there's different levels of government in Michigan. So depending on where you live, if you live in town, the level of government closest to you is going to be the city government. If you lived out in the country, it's probably your township government. So some people don't actually live in town, they live out of town, and so they have a township. And then the next level of government is county government, because we're part of Gratiot County. And then we have the state government, and then we have the federal government, and each level of government has different responsibilities and different authorities. So I'm the county guy. That's what I do. So a couple updates. The airport study has been going on, and I think, Eric, they finally got a hold of you because you were out in Vegas. I was not. Yep. But you're out in Vegas, and right now we've done a set of interviews, or she's done a set of interviews. She's going to be interviewing some additional people based on that initial set of interviews, and she's also in the process of collecting some comp data from other airports for things like fees and how they do certain things, and so that's chugging right along, and we've been getting kind of regular updates, and so I'm anticipating sometime probably before spring, we'll get something back from the commission, and then as a commission, we'll have to decide, what we're going to do with it, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. We're also continuing to have talks. There's a big discussion at the last Parks and Rec meeting last month about the millage, and essentially where we're at with the Parks and Rec millage is there's a general consensus amongst the board and both the kind of the Parks and Rec board and the county commission that municipalities have to have access to some of this money. And I think really the question is going to be how that is done. And, the two methods have been, to try and do it as some type of a grant program. And we've explored some of that legally. And I originally didn't think it could be done, but now I think it may be able to be done through a contract basis, the same way that we contract millage money to MSU Extension and Greater Gratiot Development, because this idea of taking kind of public millage dollars and then kind of funneling it to somebody else is tricky. And I'm still not really sure. I think ultimately we're going to have to get a legal finding on that to see if it can be done. The other alternative would be to do what St. Clair County does, which is to apportion a part of that millage money based on population. And they've been doing that for some time, and it seems to be working. So I think the millage that goes before the voters in August will have something for the municipalities. I just can't tell you what the details will be. But, and I hate to, it's rare that I speak for other county commissioners, but I think the county commission is ready to move in that direction, and the county commission is the one that ultimately makes the authority of what millages are out there. So I'm feeling positive about that, but I'm just still don't know a lot of details. Other news, we've been doing a lot of stuff with our pensions, and as you're aware, we've refinanced some of our pension obligation, and then we've also paid down some of our pension debt. And another kind of interesting thing that we just did, we were going through, we had somebody from MERS come and talk to us about, the pensions. What a pension is, it's like, once upon a time people went to work for an institution like a city or the county or a school or a big business, and they worked for a certain number of years, and then when they retired and stopped working, they got a certain amount of money that continued on until the day they died. You guys don't have to worry about that because it doesn't exist anymore. You guys are going to have to learn about like 401ks, IRAs, mutual fund investing. Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's a little depressing.
Yeah, it's tougher. This is tougher for you guys, but it is what it is. And, one of the things that we noticed was we had some funds, because we've got different pension groups, and we had some funds that were slightly underfunded from an actuarial standpoint. And then we had funds that, and this just happens, when you start something and you don't really watch it, that in my view, we're very much overfunded based on what we know was going to happen. And so we went back to the retirement system and asked some questions. Chris, our financial administrator, did. And long story short, they said, yeah, actually, you really have to put money into some of these funds anymore. So it reduced our pension obligation by about $21,000 a month, or about $250,000 a year. And we know that this will be the case for the next couple of years at least. And so it is something, because it's a big pot of money with a lot of pieces to it that is worth looking at in terms of, there's definitely some cost savings. We had the ability, because of additional revenues, to get rid of some debt and to do some things, but even kind of looking at how the thing is being run, because it's like a lot of things from the state. The state doesn't necessarily tell you this stuff. They don't say, hey, we've been looking at, they're not like your financial advisor. And that's why they can't tell you anything. Somebody asked when they came, well, what would you have us do with this money? I can't tell you that, right? Because they can't. But it is something that is worth looking at. But the good news is it's we just found $250,000 a year for the next 3 years. So that's always good for the budget. I think that's it. There's nothing else terribly exciting going on.
Sounds like it's all good news from coming from the county, though.
Pretty much. Yeah, for the most part. It is. We bought a building across the street. I guess that's the other thing, if you're wondering. We bought the Muscle Mechanics building, I think it is. Or, we need space. Everybody needs space, no matter how much space you have. You always need more space. We just did approve the 5-year lease tonight from MSU Extension, which they're renting from.
Good. Glad to have them here.
From the city. Well, we're glad that they are here. And, at $500 a month, they can afford to stick some money in the place because it's a triple net lease. So if they want things better, they got to do it themselves. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Cub Scouts? Weeblos. I'm sorry. That's bad. Weeblos? You guys have any questions?
Okay.
Are you getting a badge from this?
They're gonna rate pin.
All right. Good luck.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, anybody else care to speak? Hearing none, let's entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody enjoy your evenings and have a Merry Christmas.